Good evening. Good evening. As we get ready to start our meeting, I want to welcome everyone to our regular board meeting. Today is March 19, 2024. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Trustee Mitchell? Here. Trustee Middleton?
Present.
Trustee Njenga?
Here.
Trustee White? Trustee Saunders?
Here.
VP Kelly? Here. And President Kerwin?
Here.
We have a quorum?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Trustee Gale? Absent. We have a quorum?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to ask the Rebecca Turner Academy staff to stand. Thank you. Trustee Wanda White mentioned during her last board meeting that a student from Rebecca Turner Academy won an essay contest. I believe it was titled Voices of Democracy. I would like to ask Ms. Cerna, a Rebecca Turner Academy teacher, to come forward to introduce the student. And I thank you all for being present for her. Ms. Cerna?
Good evening, everyone. If I could ask Mr. Henry to come up and help introduce, because this is the company that did the scholarship, the VFW Post. But my name is Ms. Cerna. I'm an English teacher at Rebecca Turner Academy, and my student is Alicia Barton. She wrote a wonderful essay. I would just like for Mr. What's your last name, Henry?
Gray.
Mr. Gray to come up and just explain what the essay was about for a second.
Okay, every year we actually have a scholarship program, and this year we want to open this up. Hello. Hello, testing. We're back. Anyway, yes, every year we actually have a scholarship program, and we want to open it up and present it to you guys. This program has been going on for over 60 years. However, it hasn't been presented for quite some time. We have two programs. One is called the Voice of Democracy, and this is for the high school students, so they have an opportunity every year to win $35,000. Now, however, our unit, I don't have $35,000. Right? So I need you guys to participate and have your students participate so that they can receive something. Now, what we will do is at every level, there's an opportunity to win something. So we will also be holding a banquet for her to present something from our local level from Mount Vernon Post 596. And so let me get off the mic and let her do what she's going to do.
All right, Alicia.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
My name is Alicia Barton from the Rebecca Turner Academy School. First, I want to thank my principal, Mr. Newby, my teacher, Ms. Cerna, and Mr. Burtz, and my parents, and many others for their support in encouraging me to do good. And I'm going to start the essay. So, democracy is a process, not a static condition. It is becoming rather than being. It can easily be lost, but never is fully won. Its essence is eternal struggle. Democracy includes respect for human rights and the fundamental freedoms granted by the U.S. Constitution. a document which safeguards the holding of free and fair elections, ensuring a system of political parties and organizations while maintaining a separation of powers certified by the independence of government branches. Despite process made in pursuit of a more fair and just system, there is much work to be done for the equal treatment and representation of all citizens regardless of race, class, religion, or gender. Nevertheless, the greatest attributes of our democracy are the freedoms and individual rights granted by the rule of law, thereby upholding justice by providing a legal framework that applies to each constituent without prejudice. One of the most significant attributes of democracy is the emphasis on individual freedoms and rights. These rights, based on our Constitution, include freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, and the right to due process. Democracy recognizes that the rights of individuals are sacred and therefore must be upheld and protected. Every election presents an opportunity for the American people to voice their concerns and vote for representational leadership, a critical role in deciding the future of this country. Every vote has the power to sway the electoral ballot in favor of a better society. The rule of law is a fundamental pillar of democracy. That all individuals, including those in positions of power, are subject to and accountable under the law. This principle ensures that justice is administered fairly and impartially, and that no one is above the law. The rule of law also provides a framework for resolving disputes through legal certainty in which laws are clear, well-defined, and consistently applied so that people understand how the law will be enforced. Government agencies are required to follow established rules and procedures when making decisions or taking actions. Citizens have the right to challenge government decisions in court if they believe those decisions were made arbitrarily or unlawfully. An individual who is accused of a crime is entitled to a fair trial with the right to legal representation, the perception innocence until proven guilty, and the opportunity to present evidence and cross-examine witnesses. Additionally, the rule of law protects an individual's rights to freedom of speech even if their views were made unpopular or controversial. As a result, government censorship or suppression of free expression can be challenged in court. The rule of law spreads across all aspects of American life. In a democratic system, power is transferred peacefully through free and fair elections. This peaceful transfer of power is essential for our democracy and must be defended more than ever. Due to the 2021 insurrection instigated by President Donald Trump, despite this event, democracy prevailed and voters overcame obstacles to ensure their voices would be heard. Ever since George Washington became the nation's first president, every 4 years on January 20th, the president-elect stands before the nation and takes an oath of office. During the inauguration, I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will do the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Democracy stands as a beacon of hope and progress. Its greatest attributes encompass the principles of political participation, the rule of law, the protection of individual rights, accountability, transparency, the peaceful transfer of powers, checks and balances, and the protection of minority rights. The attributes collectively create a system that empowers citizens, promotes justice, and allows for a peaceful and just system to take root. While democracy continues to face challenges which call for a constant vigilance, its attributes present a government that seeks to fulfill the aspirations and rights of all individuals, making it a cornerstone of modern civilization. The basic premise of the democratic sort of regime is freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia Burton. That was wonderful. I only ask if we can get a copy of it so we could post it on our website and honor and respect you. Mr. Newby, thank you so very much for your encouragement and for what you're doing at Rebecca Turner, staff, Ralph Burtz, Ms. Cerna, thank you so very much. And I didn't get the name of the organization again.
We are the Veterans of Foreign War. We're Post 596. And again, we will be holding a banquet for her coming very soon. And we hope that we can have each and every one of you from the board to be there.
Thank you so very much.
There is no legal requirement to recognize public comment at meetings of the Board of Education. However, the board recognizes the critical importance of community discourse and involvement in the education of Mount Vernon's children, and accordingly, members of the public are invited to speak at each regularly scheduled board meeting, subject to the terms of the board policy. Please state your name, address, and the organization, if any, you represent. A speaker must register in advance by no later than 4 p.m. the day of the meeting by contacting the district clerk in person, 165 North Columbus Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, by phone at 914-665-5235, or by email. The board welcomes all respectful comments, whether praise or criticism. However, identifying and criticizing a specific student, parent, teacher, administrator, other Mount Vernon education official, or employee is strictly prohibited. Any such complaint must be presented and addressed through the proper administrative channels. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Up to 1 additional minute may be used for the speaker to summarize and conclude their remarks. If appropriate, board trustees and/or the superintendent or other staff members at the direction of the superintendent may immediately respond to a speaker's remarks. Our first speaker tonight is Len Sarver.
Good evening, Len Sarver, 12 Carwell Avenue. Here to speak regarding the STEM or the STEAM program. About 10 years ago, it was organized by the superintendent and the board to attract students who had a bent towards engineering, science, math. They would have a place to go. There was going to be a test. The test would have a mark, and it was based on achievement. And I think what's happened is it's become seats available. There's no score that the kids have to achieve to attend the STEAM school. Also, I look at the Westchester magazine. I don't even see the STEAM schools achievement scores on there. I see the 3 high schools, but not STEAM. But I'm concerned because the intent of the program was to attract kids who had a bent, a talent, and were willing to work and put in the work to really achieve in a school. It was going to be like almost like a Stuyvesant for Mount Vernon that we could be proud of. And frankly, some of the scores that I've seen, I'm not really proud of. And I think we have an opportunity, if we do this thing right, that we can achieve and we can do better than we've done. That means setting the test, making the score, making their attendance contingent upon achieving the right score, and then seating them. I don't know what's happened, but it seems to be that the whole system has become diluted. So I'd like to see that changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica Peterson? Good evening, esteemed board members, acting superintendent, and cabinet members. My name is Erica Peterson, and I reside, of course, here in Mount Vernon for all of my life. I had no intentions of speaking at tonight's meeting because for those of you that follow me on social media know how immensely frustrated I have grown with the school district special education department. And something told me to take a look earlier at tonight's board docs, and I saw that the Special Education Administration was going to present tonight, and I figured it would be the perfect time. The Special Education Administrative Department has historically failed way too many of our children, and they have failed us because they know that so many of us parents are not familiar with the child find mandate, which state that it is the school district's obligation to identify, locate, and evaluate all children with disabilities, whether physical or behavioral, and screen them for special education services. Instead, this district won't do that, leading things to fall solely on the parents. They know that many parents are not familiar with the IDEA law, which is for students with disabilities in school settings. They know that many parents have no clue about New York law, state law, Part 200, students with disabilities, and Part 201, which is the procedural safeguards for students with disabilities subject to discipline. Discipline including in-school detention, out-of-school suspension, and in-school suspension. Instead, the Special Education Administration would rather violate a student's rights under federal law section 504 to free appropriate public education by excessively suspending students who are in need of special education services, instead of mandating that they be screened. So you rather sit and watch a student deteriorate emotionally and behaviorally instead of stepping in and saying something is wrong and this child needs to be screened. Then you have parents who finally receive an IEP for their child. Within that IEP, there are things that should be implemented in order for that student to be successful in their school setting. And guess what? It's not put in place until 7 months later. 7 months. That is what I can only refer to as deliberate and gross negligence. And it's happening to our children. Special education students not receiving services until the parent sends an email and CCs someone in Albany or an attorney, and now suddenly the parent gets an email saying services will start. That is what our Special Education Administration does to our parents and children, and it keeps on happening because no one is at this podium raising hell, but we see students who do not look like us in other districts getting all the services and beyond because they know they have a community of parents that will shake the tree. But that won't happen if we only have 3 parents showing up to the special education PTA meeting. If it's unacceptable for the special education children of Scarsdale or Chappaqua, it is unacceptable for the children here in Mount Vernon.
Thank you. Tom Keller.
Thomas Keller, 12 Pasadena Place. Okay, I want to touch on Columbus Day again and a little about the budget and so forth. I don't know if any of you know Joe Seltzer. He lives in Mount Vernon. He's a scholar on Columbus. He had a great presentation to the City Council last fall. I was hoping he could come tonight, but he has a commitment, a memorial service, so he can't make it. But in the future, he may come. You'll be very impressed with him. Okay, I have this year's calendar. Indigenous Peoples Day, the 9th. I hope it's not going to appear in next year's calendar. It's Columbus Day, the 2nd Tuesday in October, a federal holiday. Bush 41 proclaimed November as Indigenous Peoples Month. And a lot of people have celebrated Thanksgiving or the day after. They don't need to share the 2nd Tuesday with Columbus. I talked about Joe Seltzer. He also told me that national Italians and national indigenous peoples have been talking, And there's a possible proposal to have Indigenous Peoples' Day August 8th. I know that's only summer school, it's not part of the regular school year, but if it happens, I hope you'll be happy. All right. And then I found out that Chinese New Year was February 7th this year. And my daughter-in-law teaches in the city, and she was disappointed she didn't get a day off. Too bad. But next year it's going to fall during the week, 29th of January or something. We're giving, it's not a federal holiday. Chinese New Year, you're getting off, just like the city. There's a lot of Chinese people in the city, but there aren't many here. Also, Ramadan, the end of Ramadan on the 10th, it's not a federal holiday, and you're giving the people a day off on April 10th this year, but no Columbus Day? All right, touching the budget. You know, the city government is sneaky. They don't even put the agenda up before the meeting. You've probably heard about these salary increases for the 7 elected officials. The great Karen Scacchi and John DiGiovanni found out about it and sent out emails. And you trustees knew about it because one of them sent text messages to you. I was disappointed when only the great Lauren Carter, her sister Shez Darden, the great John Fava, the great John Gallagher, and myself spoke. And you know who the sixth speaker was? Comptroller Morton. He had the last word. And you know what he said? We only owe the school district $6 million. Because you know what? He's going back to the 5th, 6th, and 7th years as a liability for the district. Of the city. If the city wanted to sell bonds, and they got the attorneys and the accountants, they would never approve it. Because the liability is $20 million, like John Gallagher said, and come June 30th and July 1st, another $6 million. We tax the taxpayers $136 million. We collect about $130. So we're $6 million out every year. So I think you should go to the next city council meeting and go to the comptroller and tell him he's wrong. And by the way, how are we doing with the $2.8 million that the governor wants to cut on our foundation aid? Can we have an update on that? And I hope you'll make this change in the... I hope you'll make this change in the BOCES calendar. BOCES should be confined to providing services for those districts that can't provide them, instead of getting into all these other things.
Mr. Keller, I have to
Suggested
thank you
calendar.
for coming to the podium. Your time is up. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And that's it for our public comments
It
tonight.
should be Irish History Month. I'm Irish. The heck with Irish Women's History Month. How about another month? And let's start with the Vietnam veterans. Take that.
Okay, for the superintendent's report, first of all, I would like to thank Chef Cohen and her students for preparing this evening's dinner for the board. The students are Hawa Kiera, Kalia Jordan, Stessie Levinsky, Geneva Lugo, Crystal Lee Budai, Egypt Simone Robinson, Jeha Hutton, and Sade League. Thank you so very much. That's a part of our CTE program. Many of our board members are very supportive of the program. It prepares students for a career in culinary arts, and we're very proud of the program. Tonight's superintendent's report will conclude with a special ed update by Michelle McKitty-Bromley. She's our Director of Special Ed, and Dr. Kelly Ramsey, the Director of Special Ed Compliance.
Good evening, everyone. Madam President, Board Trustees, Cabinet members, community members, and everyone in the audience. Good evening. I'm Michelle McKitty-Bromley, Director of Special Education, as Dr. Veronica Smith has already introduced myself, and Dr. Ramsey will give you a few updates from Special Education Department.
Thank you, Ms. McKitty-Bromley. Mr. Davis? Okay. We would like to share with you the mission statement we've created for the Office of Special Education, which reads, the mission of the Mount Vernon City School District Special Education Department is to provide an appropriate, inclusive, and dynamic education for students with disabilities in the least restrictive environment that will enable students with disabilities to reach their potential, both academically and personally, so they may become effective citizens of the local and global community. Next. So what this slide will illustrate is we have updated the Special Education Department webpage on the school district website, and what's popping up in front of you is just a few of the items you may find on there. Items such as the procedural safeguards, the New York State diploma requirements, graduation requirements, and your contacts with special education. This PowerPoint will be uploaded to our special education webpage, so you may go into whatever links we have there to go and explore further. Next. Okay. So in the last school year, 22-23, we met with the Regional Partnership Center, and together as a special education team, we went over some areas of concern that the department needed to address for this current school year we're in right now, 23-24. One of those concerns was the high percentage of referrals to special education, the high percentage of students referred to New York State Alternative Assessment, the NYSAA, and of course also transition needs for students with disabilities. That was another area of concern that we've begun the practice of looking at this current year. Next. Okay, here it is. So here are the 23-24 school year objectives. So first, let me get to my page. All right. So the first one, ensuring fidelity of evidence-based academic interventions, right? To decrease the rate of referrals to the Committee of Special Education. So what we have developed this year from our office directly is a CSC referral checklist. There has been a referral form in place that has gone out to the schools, but in our office, there's a checklist where either myself or Ms. McKinney-Bromley look over the referrals as they come in to ensure that there is evidence of MTSS or RTI having taken place in your child's school. And anything that's missing is documented to them, asked to gather and bring back to us for further consideration. So that's one thing. If you do a parent referral, you have this 10-day process where you're asked to meet with your building administrator or their designee to go over what was the MTSS or RTI within your school building and to consider whether or not your parent referral should still go forth. All right. Number two, we're trying to reduce the percentage of NISA, increase the rate of fidelity in the transition to IEP. Transition is a process for all students, not just students with IEPs. It's best practice for any child who's in the education system, like we just mentioned about that fantastic culinary arts program we have at Mount Vernon High School. That's part of their transition, right? That's giving them the career planning, work-based learning, and whatnot that they need to go forward, but what are they going to transition to once they leave the high school? So it applies to everyone, but in particular for a child with IEP, it is blatantly written within their IEP, so we're trying to ensure that this is being kept up with fidelity. And of course, we want to increase the rate of least restrictive environment because we all know that each child is a general education student. We all know that each child has a right to FAPE, the free and appropriate public education. And within that FAPE, they should be in the least restrictive environment, which includes not only just their program or their class per se, but also includes related services, supplementary supports, testing accommodations. How can we continuously move forward to reducing the restrictions that they have within the school setting? Because as part of transition, you move out into the world. Remember, our goal is to be an inclusive, dynamic citizen of the local and global community. Next. So this is just some of the information about some of those pre-referral interventions, just broadly what could be in place in each of the schools when those referral packets come to our office. And of course, you'll see a bullet that's very important, your parent involvement. You have to be a part of that process, of the conversation of what are your needs for your child, how can you work with that team in the school to make sure that we're moving towards the right path, to give them the most support they need, because RTI is for reading grades K through 4. Next. Okay. This year so far, we've had this number of referrals made to our CSC office. 88 have come from parents directly. 8 have only come from our local schools themselves, for a total of 96. Okay, next. Okay. This is just a summary of the CSC referral process update. I think I spoke a little bit about earlier in my earlier mentionings, but please take note. When a referral comes to a school building, let's say a parent comes to the principal or a secretary or a guidance counselor or any other designee within the building, they must forward it immediately to our office in the CSE. So we begin that process because there is a timeline. Everything with special ed is based on a timeline. And that's just the third part, notes about what I just mentioned before about the 10-day process to review a parent referral. And now I'm going to pass over to Ms. McKinney-Bromley. Thank you.
Mr. Davis, next, please. So our special education, SPED supervisor team, assignments and schools that they are located. It is located on the district website, on the departments and special education. There you can see their contact information and the schools that they are assigned to. So if families need additional information for the school that they're in, please look at the website if you don't already know that information. Okay, we are in the process of implementing standard procedures in the Department of Special Education. We're in the process of creating an operations manual. It's underway. We have developed Schoology resource pages for our staff with information. A teaching assistant handbook is in the works, in the process of being completed, and it will be continually updated as contracts and things like that change. Next. We have an announcement. So the Office of Special Education for Mount Vernon City School District is now actively requesting a one-time parental consent to access Medicaid. This is not Medicaid. If you're on Medicaid, it is a process for everyone to find out if we are able to encumber some funds. Written notification and a form requesting parental signatures will be sent to each parent of a student with an IEP by email requesting an electronic signature. I will let you know how it will be coming in the mail. Next, you can pass that one. Thank you. So what are the benefits of signing a Medicaid consent form? Signing the Medicaid consent form allows schools to recover federal funds that defray a portion of the high costs to furnish health-related services to students with disabilities. Medicaid funds can give schools the necessary resources to attract and retain qualified personnel. Additional information, Dr. Ramsey said this will be attached to our webpage, so this way you can look further information and get additional information regarding Medicaid consent at your leisure. The Medicaid consent form, as well as, not limited to the Medicaid consent form, IEPs, PWNs, consents for evaluations, will be now coming through, utilizing Frontline, which has the collaboration portal. The portal will look like what you see here. It will come to families, so don't think it's spam. It is coming from Centris Group staff from Frontline. So there, the families will be asked to enter the students' first 3 letters of a last name and a birth date. It's a safer and secure way to get your information. This way it's coming to you. We're making sure it's going to the right parent. If it is not your child, you're getting the wrong email. Obviously, you won't know that information and won't be able to access the personal information of your student. The portal also has a video. It's okay. The portion also has a video. If you're unsure how to complete and download the information, there's a video there that will give you further instructions. There are some upcoming events. The district will celebrate Autism Acceptance Day, Monday, April 29th at Trapphagen School from 3:30 to 6 p.m. Also, some of the families should have received in the mail, or if you haven't already, there are some parent engagement surveys that was put out from the New York State Education Department, and we did the mailings here. Please, we're encouraging you to answer the questions and mail it back to the NYSED, which then has a prepaid envelope, and please send that off to, I forget exactly who's doing the survey. The district-wide Career and Technical, the CTE Transition Fair, will be Friday, May 17th at Mount Vernon High School from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The goal is to encourage students to pursue post-secondary education by exposing them to a variety of career and trade school partnerships held with Mount Vernon High School. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Enjoy the break next week. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, we have questions. How do you take this information that you just presented and make better a parent's the way that they feel, like we just saw Ms. Peterson leave, because she's frustrated with what she said, that although it's in writing, she doesn't actually think that her child is receiving what you just presented. So how is it that you make her feel better or to understand better what it is that needs to be done with her child? How do you just make the situation better?
Well, parents who are experiencing concerns have concerns. There are supervisors that are at the buildings that they can contact. If they need further clarification, Dr. Ramsey or myself is available to do a further explanation at any time. For parents who are having, not sure of the services that they're receiving or think it's not enough, and we can always meet and convene meetings and things like that to make changes.
And also the benefit of that parent engagement survey. A survey is going out from the New York State Education Department. A parent can write down, answering those questions, their honest feelings about the whole process that we have. And if we take that feedback, it's literally given back to us. And then from there, we can scaffold, develop workshops for parents moving forward as well.
Okay, so as per the IEP, when you see it, how do you decipher how to, basically deal with a particular student whose needs might be greater than somebody else's in order to help them move on academically?
Well, each IEP has outlines of goals and different things for students, which is reviewed by the classroom teacher. If there are things that there needs to be changes, a parent can request meetings to review an IEP to go over thinking whether or not the program needs to change, or they have some concerns. Those things can be done through a CSE process, and the data and the information will be reviewed to determine whether or not the program is appropriate.
All right. Thank you.
I have a question about, so one of the slides it said that 88 parents referred students to CSC while 8 CSC referred directly. So does that mean that that those students were identified by the parents but not previously identified just because of scoring and things like that? No one knew until the parents referred? Is that what that means?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Sometimes we've had varying scenarios where the school identifies sometimes the schools put in
I can't hear you.
Schools put in interventions, to see how students are doing within schools. Sometimes parents just come when they register and will put in a referral, a letter requesting an evaluation immediately upon entering the district. So it varies.
Okay, I'm going by the slide. Now, the other question is, you also mentioned that you're implementing standardized procedures in a manual. Is that to say that up until now, there's been no procedure standardized, no manual, nothing in place?
Not to my knowledge.
Not even mandated by the state? State hasn't given us anything mandated to say what we should do? I'm just trying to understand.
No.
No, nothing?
No.
So we're doing this all on our own, trailblazing?
What's mandated?
I'm sorry, wait a minute. There's the compliance report from Julie Elliott. Where are we on those Where are we
Okay.
on those initiatives or whatever in compliance for the district?
Gotcha. We were not just flying free, to address your question. Everything that we do is based on Part 200 regulations. But yes, there's been no standard special education procedures manual in place in our office until this current year that we're working on it. Now, in terms of the Judy Elliott schedule, Dr. Elliott has received her first submission for Schedule 1 on January 30th. She gave me initial feedback. She's still reviewing it. But thus far, the meetings that we've had with her and what I've submitted to her to date, she has been satisfied with it, and she's looking forward to my continued input. I've developed action plans for those items that may not have been addressed in the initial, what I sent to her January 30th. She has an action plan for all the other items for her to receive as we go forward, including this month and the next month.
So you have a task force that we hired recently.
Task force was for helping creating the procedural manual, yes.
So that's just for procedures for people in the district to follow?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that deal with the Judy Elliott request in her report?
To an extent, yes.
So where are we in satisfying that report? You're telling me she's reviewing it?
She's reviewing the items I have submitted to her.
Because when I see a parent come up here frustrated, this has been going on for over 20 years.
Exactly.
I mean, I would like to hear like this is all theoretical for me. It's very clean what you're presenting. I would like to know what you're actually doing.
Actually doing quite a bit.
Fix.
A lot of writing, a lot of researching, a lot of submitting. It can't happen in 24 hours.
So when we hire people in the district with expertise, we need action.
And it's coming.
We have students who are sitting in high school who have issues, suspensions.
Understood, thank you.
So, I'm sorry, under special education, what we've done, the reason we are doing the manual is because we audited all 504 plans, all IEPs. Upon doing the audit, we've corrected many errors that were in the IEPs and 504s. We have been addressing them. The other thing we have done as well, we have spoken to our building principals, informing them of the process. At principals meeting, we explained to them, you receive a letter, these are the people it goes to, these are the documentation that we are expecting in order to do a CSE. So those are some of the things that have been done. Also, we've met with the school psychologists and social workers and implemented certain things. For example, in our 504, we were giving additional services to general education students who needed accommodation because the 504s or IEP were written incorrectly. We've been correcting those. Keep in mind, we have almost 1,700 classified students, plus an additional 897 504s. We have been cleaning up all the erroneous things we have been finding. So we are making changes. I understand the parent is very frustrated. However, before we started this work, it would have taken longer than 7 months. We've acted swiftly in terms of ensuring students receive services they need. We've created processes for our homebound procedures for students who are classified. We redid the entire homebound process. So if a student is awaiting placement, we immediately make sure that they're receiving homebound services. We put it out there. Our deadline is 3 weeks. If we cannot find somebody in person, we move on to an agency. So we've made lots of changes, right? Changes that some of our staff have pushed back, but we've explained the reason we are making these changes is because we are trying to be compliant, not only with Part 200, but with actually Part 100, which is the general education for all students. So it may not seem that we are moving swiftly, but we are. The numbers you are seeing on the screen are not CPSC. Those are not kids who are in preschool. Those numbers are even higher. The other thing we are seeing, when students come to register, they are bringing IEPs to us already, which then we have to process and provide services. We've hired and put other RFPs out to ensure students are receiving services. When buildings ask us to use our social workers, we deny it because we ensure students are receiving their counseling, and there are no excuses for not receiving counseling. If a student needs a provider change, we do it immediately. So we've made a great deal of change in less than a year. That should really take us at least 4 to 5 years to do, because we are actually evaluating every day and we're making changes.
So I have a question also. There is a handbook online, like how are you bringing the parents in? How are you making sure that these changes they're aware of so they can advocate for their child?
So the first thing we've done, other than providing our school staff with the information, we did the entire Student Services Special Education website. Next, we will have parent workshop. We will bring the parent in and teach them how do you read your IEP, how do you understand, how you go through the process. However, remember, this is systematic change we are making. It's not going to happen overnight. Yes, it is unfortunate when a parent is disappointed and frustrated. However, some of these issues are 2 decades old that we are trying to remedy, and we are trying to do it expeditiously. We do ask our building to make sure that they are following the MTSS process. You do the RTI, you do the documentation. When the documentation are not complete, Ms. McKinney-Brunley and Dr. Ramsey sends it back and asks them for the appropriate documentation. Sometimes the parent may get frustrated as a result, but we are trying to make sure we are streamlining as best as we can while still following Part 200.
Okay, the last piece I'm going to ask is about the Medicaid. We had discussed this about receiving reimbursement from Medicaid. Can you explain that to me, how we get reimbursed?
So what we found while we are doing all these audits is that we are offering services that we could be reimbursed for. For example, if we create scripts with our speech student, we could get reimbursed, right, to Medicaid. We learned out recently from a state audit, if we do start form appropriately, we could get reimbursed. These are things we're not doing. So what we're really asking parents to do is fill out the form, we'll submit it, so we'll find out if we get reimbursed. For example, I'm coming to you tonight with another payment to a school for a student who gets nursing services. The district pays for that, right? We could be reimbursed through Medicaid for that service that we paid for that student. It is reimbursable. We're just asking that parent fill out the form in order for the district to recoup some of these funds. The biggest expense we do have in student services are related services, right? We pay out $5 million. We pay out $800,000 for nurses, but we could recoup some of those through Medicaid. And that is what we're asking our parents to help us provide the service in a way the district can afford, which is why we're asking them to do this form.
Thank you.
I got one last question, and I know when the procedural manual is coming, but we know that for some time now, we still face a shortage of teachers. When we're pulling our TAs out of their classes to service those kids with mandated service, we're pulling those TAs out, taking them from those children to go sub a class. What are we going to do about that? Will the procedural manual cover what we're doing to resolve that issue, which has been going on for at least, I guess, I've seen it personally, 10 years, right? Me personally. With a student, I have a child who's grown now, but he had an IEP. I saw it then, and I know that I hear that it still goes on now, but that's a huge factor. Are we looking for, how are we resolving that? Is that going to be part of this procedural standardized manual?
I'm going to steal a page from New York City. They put something out 2 days ago. They are creating a residency program to attract teachers where they're partnering with colleges who are providing teacher education. Those people start working, receiving a stipend through a grant, and they're working for 2 years. They have to do a 2-year commitment in their school to serve, right, while they're getting their license. We're going to have to be creative as a district in order to do those things. There is a nationwide shortage of staff, so I'm saying it publicly, but that's one of the plans I was going to present to Dr. Smith, because we have to do something. TAs will choose New York City because they make more in New York City. TAs will choose New York City because the responsibility is less. So we as a district need to figure out a way to grow our own staff. This is a conversation the 3 of us have. Yes, we are aware that sometimes TAs are pulled out to sub. We ask principals not to do that, to try to get as many sub as possible. But again, we have to attract subs to our district. They don't come. So sometimes we have to pull a TA because we don't want the students not to have anyone in front of them. But we are working on a plan to address these problems. I know it's not visible, some of the things we are doing, but we are looking into every issue that impacts student and trying to make change. All right?
Thank you, ladies.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Sorry. When a child have an IEP and you identify the IEP, how long before they start getting their services?
Well, it depends. So it should be immediate. Well, generally when let's say there's a meeting today, it usually goes the day or the day after the board meeting. So if the meeting, it depends on when the board meeting is, it would generally be the day after the board meeting, the next board meeting. Sometimes, depending on when the meeting occurs, for example, now, when a lot of schedules are full, if a child needs speech who comes in either coming into the district requiring, let's say, related service of speech, sometimes there's no room in the schedule. We often go out to BOCES to look for services. But again, due to the shortage, we're having a great deal of issues in terms of sometimes when students, depending on the time they come in the school year, requiring related services, filling that need. So we have to go out to contracted services in order to fill that need outside of the school day.
And is the parents aware that the services have not been started?
So when
Are
the
you
service-
partnering with the parents?
So when there is a disruption in service, a letter does go home to the parents, explaining to them that there is a disruption in service and that they are owed compensatory services.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that special ed update. And that ends the superintendent report.
Okay, we're going to go on to committee reports.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start to my left with Trustee Mitchell. I want to just remind everyone that this is committee report, so we'd like to get feedback from each committee that you sit on. Please, just committee reports.
So facilities met today, actually, and we went over roughly 24 points of repairs that have been happening throughout the district on various buildings, installations, fire panels, things like that. We're still working towards several buildings just to make sure we're sewing up to get our certificates of occupancy, which should be happening as soon as inspection occurs, which should be very soon, hopefully within the next week or so. We also had some repairs to some leaks and things like that. Also, the securities committee met today. We talked about scholarship. We talked about scanners. We talked about metal detectors. We talked about what our monitors need in school and where we stand on hiring, the next phases in hiring as well. I will say that I also was at two different schools, so I haven't been here for two meetings, had different issues. During Black History Month, I did read at two different schools to the students. It was very uplifting. Kids loved it. We had a great time. We had an incredible Black History Museum exhibit at Mandela School that was put together by the two teachers there. It was incredible. There were 3D displays, and the children had all types of exhibits where they talked about all different people who have contributed to this country. That are of Black ethnic background. I will close by adding we had students in our district just compete this past Saturday at what they call the Battle in the Apple, which was a drumline competition. And the Leadership Academy students, the ones that were there, they won first place. Let me just make sure. And no, it's not just my committee, but I'm going to mention it because it's positive. They won first place. That team of students, there were many students from leadership there, and the second place, there were also about 12 Mount Vernon School District students in the X Factor drumline as well. Something that we should look at, how we can try to find ways to build on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Kelly?
I was invited to, I think, Pennington. I only stopped in, but it seemed like they had a very nice setup for family engagement. And I also stopped in at the STEAM Academy for the financial presentation and fun night, I guess it's called. Dr. Jones, and I think that was Orville and Trustee Middleton's committee. So that was very nice. Oh, and President Kerwin was there with Trustee Orville.
Thank you so much. Okay, Trustee Sanders?
Hi, how are you? So I just want to say, talking about our students, I attended the gospel show Friday. Dr. Smith was there, and our students put on a really good show. LaGuardia High School and Live Nation, but Mount Vernon, Denzel Washington students took it home. They were really good. So we shout out to them, the principal and Angela Hall. Thank you for what you've done. I don't really have much on the committee. I just have an update on a food pantry. As you know, we do our food pantry twice a month. Saturday, the first Saturday, and then on Wednesday. We have one tomorrow. But I did speak to a gentleman, Mr. McGregor, regarding bringing pantries to our individual schools. And he said he spoke to Miss the principal at Graham and the principal at Parker. Miss Pierce at the high school, and that they are planning on doing some more schools, Hamilton, Parker, some others, Columbus, to put pantries in. So what they'll do is they're pretty much snacks at this time. The parents and students can walk through, the building and pick out whatever they need for home. So more to come on that. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Jinka?
Not at this time.
Okay, Trustee Middleton?
I just want to say that I've been kind of ill, and basically I know my committee, the Family Community Committee, I got great reports about the workshop they did put on, and I know I'm pretty loud, but I'll take it. And I just want to say kudos to them, love them, and the parent liaisons, and just say kudos to Dr. Jones for spearheading such a wonderful committee and all those who contribute to the cause. I would be remiss if I did not shout out the parent coordinators who were instrumental in supporting this. Yeah, thank you. Amen.
Okay, as far as the audit committee, I just wanted, we haven't met in a while. However, the last time we met, we did put out an RFP for forensic auditors. So currently, we have 2 audits that's been performed simultaneously. We have our payroll audit, a forensic audit's been done in the payroll department and also in the business department. We have 2 audits, so hopefully we will get the results as soon as, hopefully next month. Hopefully, yes. We have to tell them that they have to conclude their audit. As far as the budget committee, we have not met last week nor this week, but currently our business superintendent is working diligently in getting the budget in order, so we could hopefully by next meeting we will get a budget presentation. So that's all that we have for now. Thank you.
Do we have any old business? No? Okay. We go on to our resolutions. We have a motion for 5.1, Human Resources 101A certified.
Motion.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 5.2, Human Resources Resolution 101B, classified?
Motion.
Need a second? Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 6.1, to appoint a representative to the statewide schools cooperative health plan, Board of Governors?
Motion. Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 7.1, authorization to approve Mount Vernon High School senior trip to Six Flags Great Adventure?
Motion.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 7.2, approval for boys track team to travel to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to compete in the Penn Relays Carnival?
Second.
Was that you?
I did.
Okay. Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 7.3, approval for the girls varsity track team to travel to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to compete in the Penn Relay Carnival?
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.1, authorization to approve the design of the 2024 summer school programs?
Motion. Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions?
Is this, I'm new to seeing this budget schedule broken out like this. I like it. Is it new, or is this something that we've been doing and presenting all the time? I don't recall seeing it historically. The sheet, because there's a breakdown, which is really, really helpful.
So I'm going to speak about that for this year. This is how we have done it this year. This year, I'm in charge of it. So.
Thank you. I'm sorry, President Kerwin, you and Dr. Smith are responsible?
We requested it.
God bless you. How many schools total?
Trustee Kelly and I requested it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. God bless you all. So, how many schools total buildings will be open and in effect for summer school this year?
So there will be 6 K6 buildings.
Right.
And 1 12th building.
Okay, so that's a total of 7.
7 buildings.
Okay, got it. All right, that's all I have.
And high school?
Mount Vernon High School will house
We-
grades 7 through 12 graders.
So the other buildings will be closed for repairs and work?
And cleaning and everything else that Dr. Smith chooses to do.
Oh, we have to talk to Dr. Smith, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All those in favor? Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.2, authorization to pay Mount Vernon STEAM Academy teachers to attend Project Lead the Way trainings?
Motion.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.3, authorization to update dispersed stipends for providing program services for the operating of the Purchase College Greater Potential Program at Lincoln School?
Second.
Question?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Can we just
Questions, concerns, discussions?
get an understanding as to what those program services that are going to be offered? Something simple?
So the Great Potential Liberty Partnership Program is a grant through SUNY. So we've always traditionally only had it at our high school. So this year we also have it at Lincoln Elementary School. The current advisor is on maternity leave, so this is to replace the current advisor. They provide college and career awareness. They also provide social emotional learning. The students have a counselor dedicated to them to provide basically their personal one-on-one school counselor that deals with emotional issues, college and career, understanding their grade, dealing with their peer pressure. Also, they also provide social events that our students normally would not have the opportunities. They get to go on Broadway. They take etiquette classes. It's a wholesome program that has been in our school for more than 20 years. The partnership is 56 years old. They always serve our high school. However, we say that we need a feeder school for some of our schools. So Lincoln is the feeder school. Actually, my hope is they will adopt some of our other high schools so we could spend their money, since it's their money that they're spending on our students.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.4, authorization to add substitutes for the Smart Scholars Program for the 2023-2024 school at Mount Vernon High School?
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.5, authorization to approve hiring additional extended learning opportunities staff district-wide?
Second.
Question.
Questions, concerns, discussions?
I'm sorry, I just want... It's just a documentation question. Should we have any compact committee? Are those existent for these hires? Should that be possibly attached to this resolution?
These are replacement. Is this for the Smart Scholars? No.
This is for
The additional extended learning opportunities,
8.5.
8.5.
8.5.
Approved hiring.
Displacement for hiring additional learning opportunities for staff district-wide. I believe it's not an increase, it's a replacement.
Right, I understand. I was just wondering, should there be a compact committee form there that shows, or any documentation like that attached to this resolution? Should we? Could we?
No, most of the time, these teachers are already voted in as substitutes, and then they're moved into the positions when the need arises.
Okay, so these are already teachers that are hired in the district, just moving someplace. Okay, thank you.
In most cases, I will check to see if this is one of them.
Thank you, please.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 9.1, approval of student services, pupil personnel services memorandum number 15, dated March 19, 2024?
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All those in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 9.2, authorization to hire the 2024 extended school year administrators?
Motion. Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 9.3 to accept the donation from Mount Vernon Federation of Teachers?
Motion. Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions?
I have a question about the McKinney-Vento funding in our school district. How is that distributed?
So McKinney-Vento has several grants that we use, including a set-aside that pays our McKinney-Vento liaison. However, there's certain things we can't spend the grant on. We could buy supply for our students. We could buy MetroCard, which is part of supplies. However, the grant does not cover cap and gown, a student who wants a haircut to go to a prom, a student who wants a suit to go to a prom, to buy the students anything they need for graduation. So the ladies raise fund in order to pay for those or pay for it out of their pockets. So that's the reason for this donation, is to pay for their cap and gown. New York State does not allow us to spend the McKinney-Vento funds that way, that they allocate to us. What they allocate to us must go for services for students. For example, summer school, the summer program that we have for a McKinney-Vento student, the summer college program that does college prep, as well as SAT and ACT prep. It pays for that. It pays for after-school reading program for a middle school, a McKinney-Vento student. It will pay for backpacks and supply and those things. But there are certain things it does not pay for. If our students need clothing, we raise the money and get donation from our staff. If they need, our girls need personal item, we raise those things. So the grant is extremely specific what can it be used for and what it cannot be used
Does it
for.
cover their transportation also?
Yes, there's a transportation for McKinney-Vento, or McKinney-Vento students or allotted transportation. However, sometimes our students, because of where the shelter is, they get left off a certain place. We then provide them with a Metro card to get there. Also, if they have a job after school, they are able to use that Metro card. So we purchase those as part of supply for them.
Okay. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 10.1, authorization for Mount Vernon High School to accept a donation of $500 from the Mount Vernon PTA Council?
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 11.1? Authorize the settlement agreement and general release for employee number 1037?
Second.
That was Kelly. Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 13.1 to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation, the financial history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and to receive legal advice on a pending matter? I have a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion carries.
No. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I hope everyone get home safely. We are not coming back after executive session, so have a good evening. And see you next time, everyone, yes, including the cabinet.